Okay, so let's begin. So, as we discussed in the orientation class of Polity, that our focus in this course is going to be very, very targeted because it's a revision thing. So, we won't go into much detail, but we will keep our class very strategic following the previous year questions. So, that analysis we have done here, and based on this analysis only we are going to go, not like the standard book system. So our syllabus should be based on the previous year question what UPSC is asking, and that should be the that should guide our flow of our class. So for example, we have that syllabus we have shared with you all, and there we have this first topic in our syllabus is constitutional framework. If you see the Lakshmikant also, there also we find like this constitutional framework is the first topic which is there. But when you analyze the previous year question within the constitutional framework, there are certain type of questions they are asking, which can be categorized into subtopics. As you see here, there are subtopic we have divided. This topic, that is the framework topic, has been divided into subtopic. Within the subtopic, the first is the salient features, which is one subtopic. Second subtopic is union and its territories. They're asking about this. Third subtopic is preamble. Then comes the fundamental rights. Then DPSP. And then system of polity. So the point is, within the constitutional framework, there are certain subtopics, right? And when we go inside those subtopics, we find that there are favorite topics of UPSC. For example, within the salient features topic, the constitution related question they have been asking. Like, what is, see the question of 2020, constitutional government by definition is what? They have given simple question. But if we don't cover this, generally we miss the question. Similarly, they are asking like, what is constitutional government means? What is the constitution aims for? What is the chief purpose they are asking? Then if you go to the second subtopics, they have started asking in 2024 the different parts of the constitution, which generally we miss to cover in our classes. We start with the historical backgrounds and those all things, which are not that important from the quality point of view, more important from the modern history point of view. Then they are asking so many questions from the schedule. You see, these are the questions on the schedule. They have asked 2015. These are just, I have analyzed 11-year paper, 2015, 18, 19. They have asked multiple questions on the schedules. So that means schedule is going to be our next subtopic within this, the micro topics within the subtopic. Next topic is going to be the amendment. Then the basic feature. Questions are being asked on the basic feature. Okay, so this way we have divided the first subtopic within the constitutional framework topic into the different micro themes, and we will be going in that targeted manner. Okay, so that is going to be the approach of this class, following the previous year question, what topics UPSC is focusing more, and integrating with the syllabus, and we will try to cover them. Now, as we have understood like how we are going to cover, let's figure it out like what exactly syllabus we have covered. So within the syllabus, we have divided into the different topics. So here the topic 1 is going to be the constitutional framework. So this is going to be our first topic, that is constitutional framework. Okay. Now, if you see the constitutional framework, syllabus is with you. This constitutional framework involves the topics like what are the key features of the constitution, what constitution means, what is preamble, fundamental rights, TSPSC, fundamental duties. These all concepts will come under this constitutional framework. Within this topic of constitutional framework, we have divided into different subtopics. So the subtopic number 1 is going to be the salient features of constitution. Salient features of constitution. Then there is another subtopic that is the union and territories. Then there is another subtopic that is fundamental right, then DPSP, then the fundamental duty, then amendment and those all things. So that is the flow of this class, in which we have divided the topic as I explained in my orientation session also, and this is the subtopic which we are going to cover in today's class. Within this subtopic, we should be very clear. See, we are making notes for our revision, so that notes should be useful to revise and go and write the exam. So this is the topic. Within this is the subtopic. Within this, we are going to cover certain micro topics. So our micro topic number one is going to be the constitution. That is, they are asking certain question on the constitution, their features, what is constitutional government and those things. Second micro topic number 2 is going to be, after the constitution, we are going to cover about the parts of the constitution. Making of constitution. Making of constitution. Like how constitution has been made. That constituent assembly will be covered here. Constituent assembly. The making of the constitution. Third, micro topic 3 is going to be the constituent assembly, and after that, when the constitution is formed, what are the different parts of constitution? This is going to be the next subtopic, micro topic. The fourth micro topic is going to be, what are the schedules of the constitution? Schedules of constitution. The fifth, when you know this is the constitution, what is the process of amendment? Amendment of constitution. And the sixth micro topic 6 is going to be the basic feature, basic structure of constitution. So when we analyze this topic of constitutional framework, what we found that there is a subtopic called salient features of constitution, and within this, these are the 6 micro topics which has been asked by the UPSC frequently, as I have shown in the previous question of 10 years. These are the areas UPSC is focusing too much. So our focus will also be around these 6 important topics. Okay, so we'll start with the micro topic number 1, that is the micro topic 1, that is constitution. Within this micro topic, the first one is that we need to understand what exactly this meaning of this constitution is. So that is going to be our first thing we have to focus. Now we know that what constitution is, we don't have to go very deep into it. It's nothing but a document which contains the fundamental laws of a country. So that one sentence is required. Why it is important is that sometimes UPSC what they does is that which among the following statement best describe or best defines the term constitution. That kind of sentences or the questions can be asked. So there we need to write one sentence. It is the basic and fundamental law. The definition should be, it's a basic and fundamental law of a country. Of a country. What this law does? So this constitution, the constitution is nothing but the laws which regulates. What they does? They regulate the behavior, actions and decisions of different stakeholders. It can be the actions of legislature, actions of executive, actions of judiciary, actions of even civil society. This is civil society, or even the citizens. Like what they can do, what they cannot do. So here what is happening is that the constitution is nothing but a set of law fundamental and basic law which regulates the behavior, actions and decisions of legislature, executive, judiciary, civil society or even the citizen. Okay. Now when we know this, that okay, there is a need of constitution to regulate them because they are the stakeholders of any country, right? They are the stakeholder of the state or the country. So we need certain rules or set of regulation or what we say the law to regulate them. Now the question is it necessary to have a constitution to regulate the behavior and action of these stakeholders? What do you think? Is it necessary to have a constitution? Or without constitution also we can have a state? The question can be asked, right? The constitution is necessary or not? Necessary. See, the thing is that yesterday we celebrated Republic Day to celebrate the making and the enforcement of this constitution, right? Do you know like what is the Republic Day for the United Kingdom, that is the Britain? You know, do they celebrate Independence Day like 15th August? No, because they have not been colonized by any country, right? They are the people who have colonized, they are the people who were responsible for the Independence Day celebration for more than 50% of the countries in this world. But they have not been colonized, so there is no point of independence celebration. Similarly, in the UK, there is no formal constitution. Like in India, there was a constituent assembly who sat and then they started making certain law and they made the constitution for which regulate them. But in Britain, something like that is not there. They didn't found any kind of constituent assembly. They didn't created any form of written document called constitution. Right. So the point is based on the whether the constitution has been well documented, codified or written or not, it has been divided, it can be divided into two forms. Either it can be the written constitution or it can be non-written constitution. Right. So the constitution can be written, for example, USA, India, they have the written constitution. However, it can be unwritten constitution also. That means there is no proper document or codification like UK. So there is no documentation or codification of the constitution. No single codification, single document is not there. Okay, so this much is enough to write to solve a question on the constitution. If they ask, this much understanding we need. We don't need the much detailing of it for the prelims point of view. Clear? Now, if you go to the next topic, that is the constitutionalism. Right? Next topic. Within the micro topic of constitution, the first one is understand the structure of the notes. Okay, that's very important. Then only your revision you will be able to interlink. So within the subtopic of what? Which is the subtopic? No. Salient feature is the subtopic. Within that, the micro topic is the constitution. The constitution is the micro topic. Okay, you have to understand because this is the flow of the notes as well as the class. This way we will do so that our notes will be well structured, so that we can navigate through the different topic. We can solve because on the same micro topic you are going to get the PYQ. On the same structure you are going to get the test papers also. So that it will be easy for you to practice and get, then again, if you're not getting, you can come back to the same micro topic and the subtopic and revise them. That's why the proper structuring of your notes is very important if you want the well-structured revision. Okay, next term they are asking is the constitutionalism. You hear like whenever we use this word, ism, communism, socialism, basically we try to theoretize that particular thing, right? Society, when we add the ism, socialism, or when something is socialized, Then we say that the yes, socialism is there. Something basically theory or it becomes academic, right? So when this constitution, when we say the constitutionalism, something which is being driven through the constitution, driven by the constitutional principles, laws and regulation, right? So in simple terms, how we can understand this word constitutionalism means that these are nothing but it can be the ideas, values, principles which basically defines the constitutional framework. Now, same, you must have heard the word socialism, communism, liberalism, right? What are these? These are nothing but the principles, certain kind of values which define the social ideology. Similarly, constitutionalism is you can say the branch of some academic, political academy, which is being defined by certain principles. So that is constitutionalism. However, the major definition here comes is that whenever there is certain ideas, certain values, certain principles, okay, what is happening, understand this. See, now there is state. State means here not the state government. State means the government. I mean not the state government, but the overall country's government. We call them as state. Now when the state is having certain power to exercise over the citizens, right? So here what is happening is that state is there and the state has certain power to exercise over the citizen. Now the power, state exercises power to the citizen. Now the question here is that how much power this state should have over the citizen? Can they have the unlimited power without any restriction? Or there should be restriction? Now the question here is that do power have the restriction or not? Do power, this state's power, should they have the restriction or not? Yes or no? Yes, they should have, right? Otherwise, what it will become? If there is no restriction, for example, take example of the monarchy, the kings, which were there in the medieval period and the ancient period in India. Were there any limitation on the power of the king? No limitation. There is no limitation, right? They have the ultimate power. Anyone they want, they can kill. Anyone they can hang without any justification should be given to the people. But in the constitutional form of government, there are restrictions. Now, that restriction is given by what? This constitution. So, this constitution restricts or limit the power of state, and that's why this is the constitutional government is also called as limited government. Limited government. The constitutional government is also called as the limited government. Why? Because their power is limited by the constitution. Constitution restricts or limits the power of the government. Otherwise, what they will do? There will be unlimited power. So they limit, so that first is the limited government, they limit. The second thing is that there is absence of arbitrary power. Arbitrary power means the power which doesn't have the reasonable ground. You must have heard this word, no? Like there should be the reasonable way of implementing the law, making the law. But without any reasonable ground, they are making the law. For example, you take the Afghanistan. There they restricted the women from getting education. Do it have any reasonable ground? No. It is unjustified towards a particular gender, right? So that is arbitrary power. Why? Do the Afghanistan have the constitution? No, they don't have the constitution. Currently, that is running through the Sharia law. Right? So the constitution is lacking, and that's why you see the arbitrary power in Afghanistan. However, in India, we have this constitutional government, and that's why there is a restriction on even the Prime Minister. Prime Minister cannot do everything. Chief Justice of India cannot do everything. They are limited, isn't it? So that's why it is called as the constitutionalism is nothing but the something which restricts, limits the power of the state, and that's why it's called also as limited government. Limited government. Clear? Next term is the constitutional morality. Constitutional morality. Now here, see. Here, the constitutional morality have two keywords. The keyword number one is the constitution. Let's write like this. The constitutional morality have two keywords. What is the first? Is the constitution, and second is the morality. Isn't it? Now the constitution we understood in the previous slide, previous discussion. What is constitution? It's a set of laws. These are set of laws, isn't it? And what is morality? What is morality means? In ethics we study morality and ethics. These are nothing but the principles, values, certain standards which guides our action, right? Which tells us you should do this, you should not do that, you should not lie. What is the principle behind that? Honesty, isn't it? Like when you say that one person should not lie, basically what is the principle which is telling him not to lie? It's the honesty principle, right? So honesty is what? The morality or the moral value or the ethics. Okay. So a second example, let's say the punctuality. Is it we should come to the class on time? It's what is the value? The action. You should come to the class on time is the action. It's a behavior, isn't it? It's an expectation, isn't it? What is the value behind one person should come on time? The punctuality. Punctuality is the principle or value, isn't it? Now the question is, these are what? These are the principles, values, right? These are the principles. Morality means principles and values. Like example, like punctuality, you will understand this. Punctuality, honesty. These are the values. These are the set of laws. Right? Now the question here is that suppose one person didn't come late. Can you put that person in the jail? Yes or no? No, right? That's not possible, right? Because these are the expectation. Understand this, very important. The point here is that these are expectation. Suppose that touching the feet of elders is considered as a morality in our Indian society, isn't it? Yes or no? Yes, right. Suppose somebody is not touching the feet of the elder. Will you punish that child or the person by putting inside the bar? Not possible, right? So the point here is that these are general expectation, non-binding. These are non-binding in nature. These are non-binding in nature or non-enforceable. These are general expectation only. Now the question here is that from these two words, when we are integrating the constitution and morality, that is certain principles and values which are non-enforceable or non-binding. These are non-enforceable. Then what becomes is that the morality, the principles, the values which is being derived from the constitution and which guides our action, but lacks what? Enforcement, is called as the constitutional morality. Point here, what we are getting here is that by integrating these two, what we are getting is the constitutional morality. These are the principles, values, spirit of spirit derived from constitution which guides actions but lacks enforcement. This point is important. They can put in the MCQ that these are enforceable. No, morality itself is a expectation. It's not enforceable. For example, here constitutional morality, that we say that the fraternity, which is one of the key word, that is we should promote the brotherhood. The fraternity is a key word in the preamble, also there in the fundamental duty. So suppose fraternity is a very subjective term, isn't it? You should have the brotherhood towards each other. That means if I'm not greeting you, if I'm not talking to you properly, there may be the interpreted as a lack of fraternity, isn't it? But because I'm not greeting you properly, I'm not talking to you properly, does that mean that I should be kept inside the bar? No, right? That is expectation. It's a spirit of the constitution which is being derived from the constitution, however lack enforcement, and that is called as the constitutional morality. Clear? Okay, so the constitution is a law. It contains certain principles. You see the equality, justice, fraternity, so many principles are there, values are there, which is expected from the state, that is the government, as well as the citizen. However, these are the general expectation. It's not enforceable. However, it's very important because the Supreme Court and our higher courts use them to interpret the different law. They use them like it's kind of a moral obligation on the state to perform like that. For example, despite punctuality doesn't have any legal enforcement, but there is a peer pressure, right? When you come to late to the class, you feel certain kind of guilt. Oh, I came late. So that makes you to come on the time. Similarly, here also expectation is something which makes the state to do in a certain manner. That is constitutional morality. Next term is the constitutional government. Constitutional government. Okay, so these are the micro topic, that is constitution, we covered in this class. Try to read again whatever we have covered. I will solve some questions. So revise them quickly so that you can solve. And if you let me know if any doubt is there. Okay, so we are in this process of covering this 35 question. Okay, and within this we are covering the salient features. These are from Parliament. This is the subtopic we are covering, that is salient features. Within this, we are in the micro topic of constitution, which we have just now covered. And you see the 2020, 21, 23 questions. There are more questions, but I have analyzed just 11-year questions. So this is enough to understand. Now see the question number 1, that is the constitutional government by definition is what? Limited government. See, now we have covered, it looks very easy, but it's very difficult to guess government by legislature, popular government, multi-party government, and limited government. We know it's limited government, but it's confusing in the exam hall because other statement. Now let's see why they are not right. Government by legislature. If let's say any government is going and there is no legislature, so we cannot say that whether the constitutional government or not. It's very narrow, right? The constitution may lack the legislature. There may be the constitution also without legislature also. Popular government. If a government is popular, doesn't mean that they have the constitution, right? Like maybe the Taliban government in Afghanistan is popular. People like them, but they may lack the constitution. Multi-party government. There are single parties. For example, in the China have their own constitution, but there is single party. Russia almost single party. There is lack of multi-party, right? So then also government can be formed through the constitution. However, limited government, that means something which is limited by external force, constitution, and that's why it is constitutional government. Next, what is constitutional government mean? The second, same question, similar topic they have asked. Oh, sorry. Wait. What is that? Last. Right? See, it's also the term limited. That's very important. It's limited by something. Next. Which of the following statement best reflect chief purpose of constitution of a country? Yes. Defines and limits the power of the government. See that understanding how it helps to solve this question, and these are not old questions. This is a very limited question. On the same line, they are how again and again they are asking. So it's not, we definitely can expect, if they can ask in 2020, 21, 23, with the different statements they are forming, but the key concept is the same. So if we have understood, we can solve such kind of questions. Okay, so this we have, we can say that we have completed the micro topic 1. Then now we will go to the next topic, that is micro topic number 2. That is the making of the constitution. Making of constitution. Making of constitution, okay, till now what we have understood, we have to interlink also things. Now the thing is that India is a, if say, des government, des government, then what you can feel here, it's a limited government. And what we call such limited government? Constitutional government. It's a constitutional government, right? India is a constitutional government because why? Because India has made a constitution and it's everything stakeholder states is regulated through the constitution. Now the question is that how this constitution was made. The question is how let's say the Indian constitution was made. This is the question we are going to address here, like the how this Indian constitution was made. So that is the making of the constitution, right? Few things we have to remember. There are multiple, our Indian constitution is a product which has inspired, which has learned, which has evolved over the time by learning from the different legislations made by these Britishers. Britishers came through different regulating act, different charter act, Government of India act, and finally we have learned from them as well as from the other countries' constitution. By learning from them only, we have derived our own constitution. By making it fit to the purpose of Indian people, not just a copy pasting, but we have learned from them. We saw that how it is applicable in our people life, how it can be modified, and based on that we have brought it. So that's why Indian constitution is called as the evolved constitution. Evolved document. It's an evolved document. When we say that it's an evolved document, we mean that it has inspired from multiple sources. It has inspired from multiple sources, such as example, acts of Britishers, like regulating acts, then there are charter acts and Government of India Act, like 1919, 1935. These are some of the examples. This we'll cover in the modern history. Evolved document. So this is underlined. This is an evolved document. That means when the constitution was making, it is being evolved through learning from this. It's not just suddenly we made. We have learned from 1773, the first regulating act came, and 1935, the last regulating act, and then the Independence of India Act 1947. Those all are the historical things. The second thing is that it has borrowed features are there. This we will cover after we will cover the Constitutional Assembly. That is what features we have borrowed from the different countries. What features we have borrowed from the different countries. Borrowed features from other countries. So learning from these sources as well as the other countries, finally it was made through the Constituent Assembly. Constituent Assembly What is this Constituent Assembly? This Constituent Assembly is nothing but a body which formulated and made Indian Constitution. A body which formulated and made, which actually this learned this features, borrowed, from the different features, different countries, as well as the learning from the previous regulations. Okay, so that is the making of this constitution. It has three features are there. One is that it has evolved from the previous acts of the Britishers. Second, it has learned from the existing constitution at that point of time. For example, from the British Constitution, US Constitution, Switzerland and other constitution. And then we have this Constituent Assembly which took this responsibility to formulate the constitution. So now here, three things becomes very important. If you see that that's why UPSC have this topic also. The number one is that how it has evolved. What are the different learning we can draw from the different acts of the Britishers? Number one type of question they ask this. Second is that it is the borrowed. So what features we have borrowed from a particular country? That kind of question. Question number two. Third type, they can ask about the features and the functions and related aspects of the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so by seeing this understanding, now within this micro topic, that is making of constitution, we are going to cover this aspect, except this this historical thing which will be covered in the modern history. We'll cover the borrowed features as well as the Constituent Assembly. To start with, here also if you will prioritize which is more important. If you see the previous year question, the Constituent Assembly is more important. So here we are going to focus more and we'll start with this Constituent Assembly. So write the first within that micro topic, that is Constituent Assembly. Okay, now the thing is, what is this Constituent Assembly is nothing but you see that the members. Now the question is how these members came, how this Constituent Assembly formed. Okay, so the first thing is that the Constituent Assembly, we need to understand it's a body which was formed using certain mechanism which was derived through the cabinet mission plan. Those all things will cover, like the cabinet. It was first is that it was based on cabinet mission plan. It was based on cabinet mission plan. Second, seats divided based on population. To different states. Okay, it's common only. More population, more seats, like we have this parliament today also. Then now the question is how they will identify, like this person will go. There should be some form of election, right? So the from British state, sorry, here from the British state, like members selection. How the members were selected? That's the question. How the members were selected? So different states were there. British state means which was being controlled by the Britishers. There are some states controlled by Britishers. Some were princely states. Some were like union territory, which are called as the chief commissioners territories. So from British state, it will be through indirect election. Indirect election. Remember, this indirect election term is very important. Indirect election. By provincial assemblies. By provincial assemblies, that is the provinces. Provinces means states, state assemblies from British states. From princely states, they said it will be nominated by the princes. Nominated by the princely states. So that created certain divisions or differences. From British states different, from the princely states different. So this manner they constituted this committee. When they constituted, those all things will cover. But the thing is that, okay, they needed one body, they needed the representation of different states. So now the question was how to bring them, how to select them. They decided, okay, for the British states, we'll conduct the indirect election, because the direct election people are not that aware and it will take time. So let's adopt the indirect election. And then the princely state says that there is a lack of assembly now, where they will conduct this, as well as there are demand from this princely kings, like we want to nominate. So nomination. What is this? This is remember, this is the symbol of constituent assembly, which is the elephant. So if any fact come like what was the symbol of it's nothing but the elephant. Here you see the Pakistani also earlier, because that was formed in 1946. That time partition was not done. So these are the important background of making the constituent assembly. It was not like we achieved the constituent assembly in 1946 when the independence was still not achieved. So there were the demand for this constituent assembly from the history. I have just brought it because these are facts only. No need to just discuss much. See, some facts we need to remember. 1946 was the first time the idea of the Constituent Assembly of India put forward by this person called M.N. Roy. That's the first fact. Fact number one. 1934, the first person to put forward the idea of Constituent Assembly, M.N. Roy. Note down first. This year, not year, but the who kept for the first is the M.N. Roy. Remember. Okay. In 1935, INC officially demanded. That much is important. 1935. 1938, this is not required. 1940, remember, August in principle acceptance. But in August offer, it write as in principle acceptance. In August offer, 1940, August offer. In principle acceptance of demand in 1940. Through August offer. 1942 Crisp proposal. This is not that important. You will cover in the modern history because not a significant thing. But what is important here is 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan, which rejected two constituent assembly, that for Pakistan, for India. But they said like they gave one scheme like how you can create one constituent assembly. So Cabinet Mission Plan was the one based on which the constituent assembly was constituted. As we have mentioned here also, Cabinet Mission Plan 1946. Based on this, they have accepted. So here what you can write is that Cabinet Mission Plan became basis of Constituent Assembly Constitution. That is Constitution of Constituent Assembly. So short, right? Don't write too long here. 1934, M.N. Roy, first person to put forward. 1935, INC officially demanded. 1940, in principle acceptance of August offer. in August offer by Britishers. 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan became basis for Constituent Assembly Constitution. Clear, right? Small points we need. If they put in any MCQ. Then, now next is the important dates we have to see. What we are going to go here is that a flow we should remember. What was the chronology? What was the sequence of event which took place? So here you see the first is that 6th December 1946 was the date in which the formation of Constituent Assembly took place. How many members? 389. 6th December 1946 formation of Constituent Assembly. Point number 2. 9th December first meeting happened. Here the name Sachidanand Sinha. Remember here. This is the formation. What is the 6th December 1946 formation? Here the first meeting. And who became the temporary president? The Sachidanand Sinha. Sachidanand Sinha. He was the first temporary president of Constituent Assembly. So first formed, first meeting happened. After that, dates are not that important, like exact. It's just to understand how the sequence happened within a particular time. Then on 11th December, Rajendra Prasad elected as the president. Now earlier the Sachidanand Sinha were the temporary president. Now Rajendra Prasad elected as a president. H.C. Mukherjee was the vice president. B.N. Rao was the legal advisor. Now here some names are, yes, sometimes they ask. Rajendra Prasad elected as president. Remember here, this was appointed, not elected. Sachidanand Sinha. Rajendra Prasad elected president. Second name is the S.C. Mukherjee. Was the vice president. And then B.N. Rao was the advisor to the constitution. So the key aspects are there. I mean the key facts are there. These are Rajendra Prasad, Sachidanand Sinha, H.C. Mukherjee, B.N. Rao. The first meeting and the formulation with 389 members. Now, till 11th December we came from there. 13th December, this is important, the objective resolution was presented. See, presented. First, by whom? Jawaharlal Nehru. So, objective resolution presented by Jawaharlal Nehru. Who presented? Jawaharlal Nehru, objective resolution. This objective resolution was nothing but they are telling what is the objective, what is going to be the objective of Constituent Assembly, what they are going to achieve. This is nothing but the precursor of objective resolution is the precursor of what form objective result, in what form this objective resolution is currently there in our constitution. Yes. So this is the precursor of preamble. Finally, we adopted at the end of the preamble. It was nothing but this objective resolution. Our preamble also tells us about the objective of this state, objective of the constitution, isn't it? So similarly, this objective resolution was the objective of the Constituent Assembly, which was later little bit modified and adopted. And finally, this adoption of objective resolution happened unanimous. There is no dispute on it. 22nd July 1947, national flag was adopted. This is important event. That is adoption of objective resolution. That's not important, but this national flag adopted. Adoption. That tricolor flag is going to be the national flag. was adopted in 1947. Chronology is very important here. They can switch it, that objective resolution later, this before, like that. So chronology wise we have to come here. Next is that India gained independence. We know that this was nothing but the independence. So before we got our national flag, before the independence itself, see what is that, 22nd July, 15th August we have got the independence. Before that only we had this. Then 29th August, after independence, this drafting committee was formed to draft the constitution. Drafting committee formed, right, under the chairmanship of Dr. Ambedkar. That this is not important. V.T. Krishnamachari elected as second vice president. Not. Constitution adopted. See this adoption of constitution. Adoption. We adopted the constitution on 26 November 1949, and that is celebrated as what day? Constitution Day, right? Adoption, not enactment. Then, adopted as well as the enacted, but later we have enforced. That will come. Then constitution was signed, comprised with 395 article, 8 schedule. See, 395 article, 8 schedule were there, and 22 parts were there. The constitution we created. And lastly, this constitution came into force on 26 January 1950. And how much time it took for the all process to take place? Time it took was 2 years, 11 months and 18 days. 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. The fact. And then when our independence in the first speaker of the Lok Sabha post republic formation, that is the post constitution, is G.V. Mavlankar. Mavlankar principle we sometimes study. G.V. Mavlankar. Earlier we were having this term president. And who was the president? Rajendra Prasad. Before him? Before him, who was the president? Before Rajendra Prasad, who became president? What is the name? Sachidanand Sinha, right? So Sachidanand Sinha will became the first temporary. Then Rajendra Prasad became the president. Then finally we formed in a form of speaker. We started using the term speaker because the constitution is already formed. Article 89 and that is already there, 93 already there. So they formed it later. So G.V. Mavlankar. Now let's quickly revise like what is the this flow is there. Quickly see that. First is that we have formed the constitution on 6th December 1946. Okay. So first what we did, form the Constituent Assembly through the election and that process. Second, what we did, we need what? We needed the objective. What is going to be the objective of this Constituent Assembly? By that process only we will go now. So what we did is that we drafted the objective resolution. Yes, we nominated and elected them. But the objective resolution is a very important event here. And then we adopted the national flag. And after that, the independence came. After independence, drafting committee was formed. After drafting committee, adoption of the constitution. What date? 26th November 1949. Then when it came into force? 26 January 1950. Right? Here one more thing is that, yes, 26 January 1950, it came into force. 2 years, 11 months, 18 days it took. And that way we have formed our constitution. So the making of the constitution which we had started here, what we saw till now is that, okay, it has evolved over time. It has certain borrowed feature. It has the Constituent Assembly, and that Constituent Assembly was created through certain process under the cabinet mission plan, and then this has certain selection process. The British state had the indirect election, however the princely state has the nominated members. Then what we understood is that the demand of the constitution was not immediate on the 1946. It was going on through certain years. First put forward by M.N. Roy. For the time we got finally through the cabinet mission plan. And these were the important chronology how this constitution with 395 article, 8 schedule and 22 parts came into the picture, and we finally concluded our constitution by taking a longest time by any country to form their constitution, that is 2 years, 11 months and the 18 days. Now, how this, when we say that we have created the constitution, sometimes in the MCQ they can ask, what is the composition of the constitution assembly, constituent assembly? Remember, there are British India, we have previously discussed now. Then in the British India, there will be the election, indirect election. In the princely state, there will be nomination. Remember, 296 was the number of British India, princely state 93. That exact data is not important, but here, what is the total? If you add them, how much? 389 members. Total 389 members were there in the Constituent Assembly, out of which 296 were British India, 93 from the princely states. British India means those states, provinces in which the Britishers have the direct control. However, there were some states, provinces in which the prince were, that is the kings were ruling. So those are the princely states. Now within this British India, that is within these 296 seats, what we have done, how we are going to select the members from the British India? What is the process? What is the process? Indirect election has to be conducted in the provincial assembly. So when you will conduct the election, here election has to be conducted. What was the outcome of the election? The outcome of election, what we found is that out of this 296, INC got 208 seats. Then the second was the Muslim League, they got the 73 seats and others got the 15 seats. So the clear dominance of the Indian National Congress, that is the INC. Okay, so this fact, that is the INC was the major party who came, and that is understandable only. Just the fact, no need to remember this exact data. Just the observation that okay, this has happened. They conducted election here. The outcome was like this. That much only we need to know. Remember, don't try to remember like exact data. At least but 389 should be remembered. That much fact we can remember. Then what functions they perform, this Constituent Assembly? What was the major function of Constituent Assembly? Making the constitution. Constitute the constitution. Basically to make the constitution. That was the major function. But there comes the trick, there comes the, I mean what you can say that the other aspect we should know is that apart from the making the constitution, some other functions was also performed by this Constituent Assembly. What are those functions? That can be a type of question can be asked by the UPSC. The first is that it ratified the India's membership to Commonwealth in May 1949. Now the question is that why the Constituent Assembly is doing this? Because at that point of time when we finally got our own government which was elected, in which year we got the government? The first government? 1952 finally. Around that 1951-52 we got. But till then there should be some legislative or some government, some state was required, isn't it? So it was during this Constituent Assembly, within the constitution, what they did is that they made a provision. By the time the new Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha will be constituted after the election, till then Till then, this Constituent Assembly, that is, these members, 389 members, later on reduced, they are going to function as the provisional parliament, because parliament had not yet been constituted. There are certain laws has to be passed, there are certain decision has to be taken. So this Constituent Assembly has been given the power to work as a parliament of the country. On that capacity, they have performed certain role. That role very limited, but we should know. The first one is that they ratified like India will be the member of Commonwealth. Commonwealth, we know, right? Those countries who were colonized by the Britishers, like the Australia is there, India is there, like that. Second is that they adopted the national flag. We have covered like national flag was adopted before the independence, that is 22nd July 1946. So they are the one who have adopted. Then adopted the national anthem as well as the national song. This is in the news. National song, the Vande Mataram one years we celebrated, right? So that is in the news. So that's why any fact related to the national song becomes important for the prelims point of view. Okay, so it was adopted on 24 January 1950. So the question can be like the national song were adopted after the national anthem. Like that statement can be created. Will it be right or wrong? Wrong. It has been adopted on the same day. So they can make, because general perception is that national anthem has been given more importance than the national song. So if you use the logic in certain sentence, you will start thinking that yes, okay, national anthem is more important, so they may have adopted first and then the national song. But both of them has been adopted on the same day, that is the 24th January by the Constituent Assembly. Then it has also elected Dr. Rajendra Prasad as India's first president on the same day. Then the final session of the assembly was held on this day, after which the continued as, see this line, only this line, right? Continued as the provisional parliament till the formation of new parliament till 1952. This line is important. Continued as provisional government till 1952. So here they ratified Commonwealth, national flag, national song, national anthem, president, and lastly continued as the provisional parliament. Six things are there. Quickly revise them. First write, if you're writing, first write. See, there is only one solution to remember them, is to revise. See multiple time, keep the short notes ready, revise multiple time, you will get them. How notes are coming? Now, then within the Constituent Assembly, there were certain committees. For example, the first, what was the most important committee? The drafting committee was led by Who led the drafting committee? Dr. Ambedkar. Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar was the head of this drafting committee. So apart from this drafting committee, there were some other committees also. Now, who was the head of those committee? That is the important type of question can be asked by the UPSC. So the first thing is that we should know is the drafting committee. And this membership, there has been the question in the UPSC also. Previously they used to ask, but now they are not asking. But still, we should be ready with this. Remember, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar was the chairman. Okay, drafting committee who will draft the constitution. Who draft the constitution? They will write and they will formulate all the constitution. Most important. Who was the head? Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. But apart from them, N. Gopal Swami Iyengar, Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer, K. M. Munshi, Syed Muhammad Sadullah, N. Madhav Rao, later replaced by B. L. Mittar, T. T. Krishnamachari. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least we have to go through them. If it's difficult to memorize, to be really honest, we cannot memorize each name. But if you have gone through the names now, if the options they put there, you can eliminate. Okay, I'm sure that this person is not in the drafting committee. You can eliminate the questions. But if you have not at all seen the name also, it becomes impossible to eliminate even a single statement or the single point. So best thing is that since it's a very important committee, we are not going to see that who were other members of the Union Powers Committee, State Committee, Rules Committee. No, that's not important. We are not going to see them. But we are going to see the names because this was the most important committee. That's why we are seeing it. Okay, so note down this name. That's very important. Very important just to look them. Don't try to memorize, just to bypass your eyes once. That will help you to eliminate questions if they ask which among the following were the members of the committee. Similarly, now other committees we remember by the name of the leader. What here the question can be, they can exchange the roles. They can say that the Provisional Constitution Committee was headed by the Jawaharlal Nehru. Where I get confused more often is the State Committee. Generally we see like the Sardar Patel was involved in the state formulation, adoption. So the State Committee general idea is that this should be led by the Sardar Patel. But this fact we should remember that State Committee had been led by the Jawaharlal Nehru. So under Jawaharlal Nehru, the Union Powers Committee, that means what power should be given to the Union. Union Constitution Committee, that is the Constitution, the Union part of the Constitution. That particular segment was led by the Union Jawaharlal Nehru, and the State Committee also was led by Jawaharlal Nehru. So three committees were led by Nehru. Union Powers Committee, what power should be given to the Union? Union Constitution Committee and the State Committee, three. If you see the Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Rules of Procedure Committee, as you know, Rajendra Prasad, what was his function? What was his position in the Constituent Assembly? President, like presiding officer, right? So, like we have the Speaker currently. Who is the Speaker currently? Lok Sabha? Om Birla. He is from the previous time also, right? So the Om Birla, generally they perform to make the rules of procedure of the committees. Rule of procedure of the Parliament or the Assembly, right? Or your Lok Sabha. Who makes the rules? That is the presiding officer. Similarly, as we know that the Dr. Rajendra Prasad was the presiding officer of Constituent Assembly. So while discussion in the Constituent Assembly, how should we have debate, how should we discuss, disruption should not be there. For that, certain rules were required. Now, what rules should be there? For that, there was a committee called as the Rules of Procedure Committee, headed by Dr. Prasad. The second was the steering committee. Steering committee, that means how you are going to proceed, how you are going to steer the whole proceedings of the Constituent Assembly over the time, led by the Dr. Prasad. Sardar Patel, two important things. One is that Provincial Constitution Committee. Provincial Constitution Committee, and second is the Advisory Committee on Fundamental Right, Minority and Tribal Areas. These two committees. These all are like the history facts, but since it's related to the Constituent Assembly, we are covering them. Not much concept is there, just we have to go through them. Go through your notes. That's it. That was only you can do here. Yeah, these two difference we have to know. Enactment means when we have enacted 26th November 1949. Enactment means they signed it. Enacted. That is, they signed it, everything is final. However, we implemented them, we enforced them on 26th January 1950. This is the date of enforcement. So enactment means constitution adoption by the Constituent Assembly by signing it. It is the marks the completion of the drafting and official signing. Three things. It means three things. One, it was adopted, it was signed, and it was the completion date. So they can create the statement like the completion date of the Constitution was this. Yes. The signing date of the Constitution was this. Yes. The enactment date of the Constitution was this. Yes. So same word can be asked in the different manner. But if they change the question, it came into force on this date. No. So date of enforcement is this, and that's why this day is celebrated as the Republic Day. Finally came into the force. Then it can also be used as a term called commencement of the Constitution as legal authority. Earlier it was just a document by this time, but only this it actually became the legal document, legal body. Okay, so that is there. Commencement came into force, commencement into the legal document, and third, celebrated as Republic Day. Now the question is why this day was chosen, that Purna Swaraj that we know, right? So the Purna Swaraj Day in 1929, that is the INC adopted the resolution of Purna Swaraj in 1929 to mark that day as a remarkable or the memorable day. They chose the 26th January 1950 as Republic Day, as the commencement day, as the day of enforcement of Constitution. Very important, because they can confuse us with enactment and enforcement by making the questions. So that's why we should be aware like what exactly they mean, what is the different meaning. Adoption, signing, and the completion of the formation. Enforcement, commencement of legal force, Republic Day, Purna Swaraj Day, remembrance are related to the enforcement. Done? Lastly, let's see some certain question. It was asked in UPSC 2015. Try to see. Who among the following was the chairman of Union Constitution Committee of the Constituent Assembly? Jawaharlal Nehru. Direct fact, right? Jawaharlal Nehru. 2015, 2005, old question. 2015 in CDS they asked this question. Read the question. What is the answer? 1 and 4. Actually, this question is not related to fact. It's a common sense question. Let's go statement wise. The member of the Constituent Assembly were chosen on the basis of the provincial election of 1946. Yes, we know that what we discuss is that okay, the country was there, and within this, from different state, the Constituent Assembly from the different states, the members were chosen to form the Constituent Assembly. Now, that means, let's take the Madras here or the Karnataka, that time, let's say the Madras. From the Madras, there are certain members has been chosen. From Madras, they chose among the different members which are there in the assembly, right? This is the Madras Assembly. From here only, the Constituent Assembly, the members were indirectly elected to Constituent Assembly. But these members has to be chosen first. They has been chosen by the people. People elected them, sent to the state. Then the state chosen to send to the Central Constituent Assembly. So these state provincial elections took place in 1946. They were elected. From here, indirectly, they elected the Constituent Assembly members. Correct. The Constituent Assembly did not include representative of the princely state. Did it include or not? Yes, it included, but they did not participate. They did not participate. See, here it's subjective. You cannot justify it. I think if the people will make the what you can say, the representation in the UPSC, this question can be removed. You know that the UPSC sometimes remove the question because of the dispute. It is because of such kind of vague statement. It has not said like the Constituent Assembly did not include. It included, but they did not participate in. Right. The next statement is that the discussion within the Constituent Assembly were not influenced by the opinion expressed by the public. It's very, very vague. How it cannot be influenced? Even today the parliament get influenced. So it's a wrong statement when you eliminate 3. 1 and 4. 1 is correct. In order to create a sense of collective participation, submissions were cited from the public. These both are, you see, the opposite to each other, contradictory to each other. So either of them can be right. This is more positive statement, so that this is right. The Constituent Assembly of India was created under Cabinet Mission Plan. Cabinet Mission Plan. Next, with reference to the Indian history, the member of Constituent Assembly from the provinces were from the provinces. Elected by option C. This option C. This is what? Indirect election. Because the people are not electing, the elected members are elected. Okay. So lastly, this the conclusion is not required. But sometimes what you know that they give a statement also, a small line, and it was said by Gandhiji, Jawaharlal Nehru, Patel, Dr. Ambedkar. So this is very important and popular statement said by Ambedkar. The Constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. It's a vehicle of life, and its spirit is always the spirit of the age. Generally, we use this quote in the mains conclusions and to define. But awareness of this is sometimes UPSC asks the statement and such question also. That's why we should at least have this idea. Understood? So we practiced. We saw the micro topic number 2, that is the Constitution. Within that, try to see that again if any doubt is there. Okay, so this is the index we had created, and what we have covered is that yes, we have covered the constitution, about constitution. We have also covered the making of the constitution, right? The next micro topic will go to the parts of the constitution, but before that we also covered the different sources, that is the borrowing within this micro topic, that is the making of constitution. See, this type of question UPSC were not asking earlier, but since 2024 this question also they have introduced, that is the parts of the constitution. And if you see, they are asking specific or highly factual question. It is, I mean, there is no point of any kind of analysis or elimination. It's purely fact. Either you know the parts or you don't know. Parts of the municipalities are given in part 9A of the constitution. Emergency provisions are given in part 18 of the constitution. Provisions related to the amendment of the constitution given in the part 20 of the constitution. Now they have directly given it's purely fact, pure fact, right? So these type of questions they have introduced, and this shows the kind of unpredictability, and that's why I'm not leaving the facts, like, because they can ask anytime this kind of question, and we should not lose 2 marks here just because we have not covered the basic. And that's why I have created the parts as a different chapter. Generally, we don't cover this earlier, like the parts separately. But since we are covering from the prelims point of view, that's why I have kept this parts part. Similarly, the schedule part also. Okay. Schedule part also, almost every year you see 1 or 2 question on the schedule, like provision of 5th schedule. Parliament can take place in the particular law in 9th schedule. They have asked question on 9th schedule. They have asked question on the which schedule. I mean, again it is a question related to 9th schedule. 9th schedule has been the favorite topic of UPSC. Along with that, the 7th schedule, but we'll cover that in the center-state relation. So we'll cover today this part and schedule. These are very, very basic. Generally, we ignore. To be really honest, when they asked in 2024, these parts generally we don't revise and go. We don't keep in our note. We think like the other part, like fundamental right, duties, and those are important. But let's not miss them also and cover in our notes and our discussion those aspects also. So till now what we have covered is that this micro topic constitution. Within this constitution, constitutionalism, constitutional morality, and constitutional government we have finished. After that, micro topic 2 we have started, that's the making of Indian constitution, and we found that the making of Indian constitution has the 3 aspects. One is that the historical underpinning, and second is that there is features of constituent assembly, and third is the borrowing features. Okay, so we have already covered this constituent assembly part. This we are not covering. Why? Because see, if we start covering this all regulating act have certain context. Why the 1813 Act brought this 1 lakh rupee donation? Why they started opening up? Because of the change in the political system in the Britain, it was happening like the Industrial Revolution. So these acts have certain context to understand them better. So the best way to study them is the modern history, because they are the part of the history, and when you know the context why that act was brought in that particular time, that makes us better to understand. That's why I am keeping this part, but it is also a kind of which influenced the making of Indian Constitution. We have came to the Constituent Assembly. Now we are going to the borrowing feature of Indian Constitution. So we have seen the Constituent Assembly. It's mostly facts, this chronology and the composition, again the what function they perform, committees they had, the enactment and enforcement concept we understood, and then we solved certain previous year question of UPSC, both IAS as well as the IES and the CDS, and then finally we'll come to this, that is the borrowing. That is from where we have taken the provisions. This is again the facts. but we'll try to get certain things to understand them. See, the first important source is the Government of India Act. Government of India Act 1935. Government of India Act 1935. Keep this in your note. This is very important. Sometimes the provisions can be given by the UPSC and say that which among the following has been derived from this particular act or British or from the US, like that question can be. Now, here, if you see what kind of functions are there, federal scheme. Now, what is the meaning of federal scheme? Means the division of power between the center and the state. If you see there also, some power were given to the central government during the British time, also 1935 Act and those things. Some power to central, some power to provinces. So that means the division of power was there between center and state, that is the provinces. So that feature we have adopted from Government of India Act 1935. Second is the Governor's Office. The Office of Governor, you must have heard Lieutenant Governor, Governor of Punjab, Governor of Madras, right? And there were attack over the governors, isn't it? So the head was the Governor General of India, but below them for every provinces they had the governors appointed by the crown, right? So that system of governor today also we are having. In Andhra Pradesh we have the governor, we have the Chhattisgarh governor, like that. So the governor system. Then the judiciary. At that point of time also Supreme Court was there, isn't it? At the top Supreme Court were there. Then the high courts were there in Calcutta, Madras, Bombay, high courts. Similar system, that is the judiciary system. Supreme Court, High Court, and then subordinate court like district, Sadar Court are like British time, isn't it? So that also clearly understandable that yes, these are also the British's time system. Then the Public Service Commission, it was formed in 1926 under Government of India Act 1919. Right? Over the demand, they formed this commission so that they can recruit Indians also in the public services. Same we have adopted later, the UPSC. Right? Same. The emergency provisions, they were having, Governor General, they imposed the emergency. Whenever there are protests like civil disobedience movement or non-cooperation movement by our leaders, they used to impose the emergency. Same we have adopted in our constitution also. 352, 356, those provisions, right? So that is also inspired. Administrative details. What is the meaning of administrative details? Is that for the administration, suppose you are district collector, what would be the revenue code? What will be the CRPC, IPC, section 144? These are all detailings. And other small detailing has been derived from this Government of India Act 1935. Okay, so administrative detail. Now coming to, so this you can relate them, you can understand better, just a being awareness. It's nothing like you don't know, just that being aware that these are derived from here, that much is required. Then the British Parliament. Now you know that the British, if you see, British system of governance, the British system of this polity is what form? It's a parliamentary form, right? Parliamentary form of government is there. They also have the parliament. They also have the prime minister. They also have the upper house and lower house. Upper house they call as Senate, right? Lower house also representatives are there. Okay. Now similar parliamentary system. Do the US have the parliamentary system? No. They have what system? Presidential system. They have the president is the head, not the prime minister. Okay. Now India is having which form? Parliamentary or the president? Parliamentary system. Here also lower house and upper house we are also having, it's the same thing. So that parliamentary system, at the best form, example of parliamentary system is the Britain. So remember, this parliamentary form of government we have taken from Britain only. This parliamentary form of government. The second is the rule of law. The name is A.V. Dicey. He was the one, the British philosopher who gave this concept of rule of law. So the rule of law has also been taken from the British concept. Then single citizenship. In the Britain, single citizenship is there. In the US, dual citizenship is there. So we can't take from the US, right? So it is British. Cabinet system. Yes, for parliamentary system, then the cabinet system, that the prime minister, they will be having certain cabinet ministers. So cabinet system. Then the parliamentary privileges. That is, the member of parliament as well as the committees will be having certain powers, privileges. That also we have taken from British. Bicameralism, I explained, they also have uppers, lower houses. Writs. Writs means whenever any right has been violated, Supreme Court, High Court, they issue certain writ, that is order kind of thing. So that also we have taken from the Britain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These 7 things we have taken. Mostly the parliamentary systems. Parliamentary systems we have taken from the British. Yes. Rule of law. Yes. See, rule of law, there is the concept rule of law. That means the decisions of the state, the actions of the state are being guided by certain rules which has been formulated in the form of law. That is, you have made some certain law. That's the feature of the constitutional government also we discussed. That there are fixed set of law which guides everyone. Now within this there are certain features. One is that there should be equality before the law. That means in front of law, you should not treat some people differently, other people differently. So in front of law, even if it is the Prime Minister, President or common citizen, it should be treated equally. Okay, so that is another feature. So rule of law has certain features like the equality before law, equal protection of law, and then there is that the rights are derived from the Constitution as per the Indian rule of law concept. This has been included in our Article 14, which talks about the equality before law and equal protection of law, right? Article 14. So this Article 14, when we'll cover in the fundamental right, there this rule of law will be more clear. So this is nothing but you say that the equality before law and things go through law. That is because of law guides the different actions, not just like the arbitrary decision. Okay, that is rule of law. Next, US fundamental right. As we know, they talk about a lot of civil rights. Then independent judiciary. You know, the US judiciary, Supreme Court, is one of the most powerful. Now, when we say independent judiciary, it is because of separation of power. They had separation of power in judiciary, legislature and executive. That's the independent. Impeachment of president. As you know that the US also have president, India also have president. Both involve the impeachment, that is removal of the president. So we have learned the process from the US, impeachment of president. Then judicial review. That is, judicial review means review of any decision of government, any acts or law passed by the government. For example, if the government brought this NJSA system, that is the appointment of judges through certain system. Now judiciary can review it. How they will review it? Whether it is being constituted or made as per the law or not. Is it following the principle of the constitution or not? Is it violating or is it adhering to? So that kind of review, who will do the review? Judiciary. Because judiciary is considered as the protector of the constitution and the fundamental right. So they can review it. That also we have derived from there. Removal of the Supreme Court and High Court judges. Like impeachment of the president we have taken. Similar, how to remove the Supreme Court and High Court judges also we have taken from them. Then the post of vice president. In the US also vice president is there. India also have the vice president. Do Britain have the vice president? Do Britain have the president? They have this king, right? They still are following this king and queen system. So they don't have, that's why they are not republic. So we cannot take from the Britain. It's from the US. Then Irish constitution, Ireland. DPSP, method of election of president and the nomination of members to Rajya Sabha. As we know, in the Rajya Sabha, out of the total to 45 members currently, some are nominated and some are elected. So nomination system is taken from the Irish. How to elect the president? See, here impeachment is from the US, but how to elect the president from Irish. And this is most important, very important. DPSC especially they choose, like from where we have taken. DPSP election and the nomination of Rajya Sabha. Canada is kind of Canadian system is federal with strong inclination towards center. Whenever we talk about the federalism, now if you talk about the USA federalism, it gives the center and state almost equal power. States are also very powerful. But if you talk about the Canadian system, here also federalism some form is there where the center and state power has been divided, Canada. However, it has given more power to center than the state. Here, equal power, equal. Here, center more power than state, Canada. However, what do you think India follows? The Canadian. Why? Because of that, because we are giving the center more power. We wanted to give that so that we can establish unity. We can establish unity. And that is the reason why we have started following the Canadian system where the center have the more power than the state. Okay, so that is the federation with the strong center we have taken from the Canada. When the center have more power, if you see the Schedule 7, there is one schedule called Schedule 7. It differentiates the power between center, state, and the concurrent list. Have you heard about list? Center list is there, state list is there, and then concurrent list is there. Now, some powers has been given to the center. For example, the power of defense of India, the external defense of India. It's the center. The internal defense, that is the police, it is in state. However, there are certain concurrent power which are common to both. For example, electricity, education, and such. Education, for example. Now, what if any subject, there are so many subjects listed here, listed. What if any subject which is not listed any among these three? Who will be having the power to make the law? That's the question. In US system, it is in the hand of states. State makes. That makes the states more powerful in the US. But remember, in India, like in Canada, it is not in the state, but it is in the center's hand. If any residuary means like something which is not there in these three lists is called as the residuary. That power has been given to the center, inspired from the Canada. So that is called as the residuary power to the center, we have learned from. Next, appointment of the state government by the center. Governors by the center. Suppose if here in the US, you know how the governors are appointed? They are elected. Through the election, governors elected. So if governors are elected, do the center have more control over the governors? Less control. But in India, how it happens? Do the governors are elected? No. Nominated by whom? President. President is under central government. So the central government have the power. Now again, because of this appointment of the state governors by the center, it again is giving the power, more power to whom? Center or state? Center. If you see that these all three features are the common. Center, that is federation with strong center. This is also staying the same thing. Second statement also, because of the residuary power in the center. Third also same. Fourth, advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court. That is, the Supreme Court give advice. This is in the news. Recently, 143 article has been used by the president. We'll cover this advisory jurisdiction when we'll cover the judiciary, Supreme Court. This is in the news. This is very important this time. Okay, so these are the four features. Australia, both joint things are derived from the Australia. Joint things, that is common thing. See, concurrent list, where both can make law. Concurrent, center can also make law, state can also make law. Next, joint sitting, when the Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha, both members come together, sit together, and they decide. So the common thing, joint thing, has come from Australia. Canada, we have come strong thing, strong center wala thing. Australia, we have brought this joint trade. Next, Germany. Whenever Germany comes in your mind, what picture comes in your mind? Hitler. And the Hitler is known to kill the rights of the people, right? So the suspension of fundamental rights during emergency came from the Weimar Germany. Remember that the Hitler used to kill. See, this is not the logic. Basically, just to remember, Hitler used to kill the rights, and that's why it comes from there. Okay. So the suspension of fundamental rights during emergency. Next, USSR. USSR means, which is it? Soviet Russia. What is the feature of Soviet Russia? Why it is known in during the independence time? Socialism, right? It is known for socialism. Socialism means which talk about two things. One, give the rights to the common people, give the ownership over the land, resources to the common people, to the labor class and the working class, right? But along with that, this communist, socialist people, they ask citizens also to perform certain duties, right? But in the democratic countries, duties are less demanded. But in the socialist country like China, everyone should have the same haircut, same walking style. They will put a lot of obligation on them. So two features are common in the socialist form of government. Number one is that the welfare thing, that is the justice thing, that everyone should get the equal right. And second is the duty thing. Remember, these two are common feature. Whether you take China, whether you take Russia or any kind of socialist government. That fundamental duty derived from the inspired from the USSR. Idea of justice, that is social justice, economic justice and the political justice, which is there in the preamble, derived from the Russia because of this two feature. So you have to remember, USSR socialistic, socialism have two feature, justice and the duty. Next, French, that is the France. Republic and ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. We remember that republic, I mean this question came in the mains 2025. 1789, the French Revolution happened, and after that they declared this Declaration of Rights of Men. During that, they have talked about this liberty, equality and fraternity, which has inspired LEF across the country. And this exact question they had asked: what are the influences of the French Revolution in current world, in the mains? So the French Revolution, it is because of the French Revolution, which brought this liberty, equality and fraternity in the preamble. The Republic means that the elected head of the state, not the monarchy. Earlier in the French, there was monarchy. That is, the king used to rule. Now Republic they established. Next is South Africa. The procedure for amendment of the constitution, like how the constitution would be amended. What should the process? And election of the member of Rajya Sabha. Nomination of the member of Rajya Sabha came from? From where to nominate? How to nominate? Huh? What? Irish constitution. See, this nomination of member of Rajya Sabha, Irish. Here we can get confused. Please remember this. That is this one. The election of the member of Rajya Sabha from South Africa, nomination from Irish. There can be the confusion. So remember that. Then the Japanese, the procedure established by the law. Procedure established by law. This concept will cover in the fundamental right topic. There is two concepts. One is the procedure established by law. There is due process of law. What is the meaning of them? And that will cover. But we have covered this from, we brought this from the Japan. Generally, we confuse this. I confuse this with the Britain. So please remember, it's not Britain, it's Japan. Because Britain have followed this procedure established by law system, and US has followed the due process of law system. But that confusion can come. So please remember that part. So these are the borrowings, Government of India Act 1935. Have you noted? Anything there? No, right? Noted, right? This is important. You have to remember the historical fact for Government of India Act. The parliamentary things will come from the Britain. The presidential and the judiciary powerful thing will come from US. Rights all thing will come from the US. Ireland will give us this DPSP, Rajya Sabha nomination, and what is the another? Election of president. These things will come. Then what is the next thing? This Australia will give the joint all thing, concurrent and joint sitting. Canada will give the strong center all thing. Germany will give suspend the fundamental right. French will give the revolution, that republican rights. And then what is the Japan? Japan will give the established by law. And South Africa, how to amend the constitution. And the second, election of members of Rajya Sabha. That way, we have to have some general common sense about these. We can eliminate things. And anyhow, you will revise them. You can definitely solve the questions. The statement can be eliminated if you have this general idea. And lastly, this is the additional thing is that, see, they say that there is a structural part of the constitution, like how exactly the constitution has been arranged, how it has been structured. It came from 1935 Act. The philosophical part, that is, what is the principle, values, philosophy of the constitution, can be seen from American and Irish constitution. It is because DPSP has come from Irish. Fundamental right came from America, that is US. Right? So both are defined the key values. Now the DPSC, the social justice, welfare, so many things, equality. These all things has been talked in the DPSP. Those are the principle which shows constitution's principle. And the political part, that is, it would be the cabinet system, it would be the parliamentary system. These came from Britain. The parliamentary system, cabinet system came from the Britain. So if they change the terminology and say, make the statement that political part came from which country, like that, it should be the answer. Okay. Next part, the next micro topic is the parts of Indian Constitution. Now, the Constitution, see, the Constitution has to have the provision for, for every aspect of the country, right? So now, if you see that the aspect of the country, how it should be made. Suppose they give us task to make the Constitution. So what do you think how we are going to make? We'll come to the actual Constitution, but let's try to derive the common sense first. The common sense says that, okay, there is one country. There is one country. This country, for this country, you have to make a constitution, right? Now, what you will do first? First, what we have to define is that this constitution is going to be implemented in which area, isn't it? Right? It will be implemented, or it will be for this area, isn't it? This is the geography. Here, it will be implemented. So the first thing we need to know is that the geographical extent in which this will be applicable. That means you need to know if it has certain countries, certain states, let's say. So which are those states has to be identified, right? So this requires that you need to identify the states, UTs, or other, if they are. Isn't it? No need to write, just to understand this. We'll come into this. Don't write this. This is just to develop our mind. How to? Because it will help us to memorize them. Okay? So the geographical extent is required, first thing. The second thing is required is that, yes, along with this, you also need the name of the country, isn't it? What would be the name of this country? You have to name the country. Suppose the new country you are creating, so you will decide one name. This will be the followed. Now there is dispute also. Should we, when this India block came, na, then they started using more emphasis on Bharat is the real name. So what is the constitution? So constitution should define it. So the definition, what should be the name of country? Then who will be the part of the country? Is Bangladesh will be the part of the country? No, it has to be excluded. So that list of the states should be there. Third thing, okay, this is the country, this is the name, these are the state, but who are the citizen of this country? Do you need this or not? Yes. Who are going to be the citizen on which this constitution will be applicable? Third, you got this citizen, you got the country, these all things you receive. What is the next thing is required is that what is going to be the rights of these citizens? Okay, you are talking about the citizens. What is going to be the right, their right? Okay, so the rights are required. So let's write not fundamental right, only rights. What is going to be the rights? Okay, rights are there. What are going to be their duties? Okay, if they are getting some rights, let them have certain duties also, right? So duties are required. Then go. Now you understood this system. This is the philosophy. This is the objective we are having. This is the country. These are citizens. These are the rights. These are the duty. Now, who will implement these duties, rights, and everything? We need a system, right? System of government is required. So, there is a system of polity or government is required. For that, you can divide that. Should we have only one government or can we have multiple government? That you can decide. Okay, you decided there should be some union government that is at the center. There should be a state government. Some states do not have the autonomy. Let's make them union territory. Within the state also, there are some local bodies. Let's give the local bodies. Within the local bodies, some are the rural area local body, some are the urban area local body, and some are the scheduled areas like the tribal areas. Right? You're getting what I'm saying? Still, we have not come into the constitution, but let's derive the general thing. Now, state we understood, okay, this is the form of polity or the government you will form within the union, state and these all things. It will involve both legislature as well as the executive. But at the same time, you need the judiciary also, na? If suppose they are not following the law, then who will see them? Judiciary is required. Judiciary at the center level, central judiciary required, state judiciary required, at the local judiciary also required. Right? Now the question is how these people will be elected, how these people will come from the citizens. You need the election machinery. Now you need some permanent people to work as employees. You need the public services. Right? Then you need that there will be center is there, union is there. They will be interacting with each other. So there should be some center-state relation should be defined. There will be the relation between Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, interstate relation, what is the dispute and those things. Sometimes emergency situation can come. You need the provision for that. Sometimes you have to change the constitution. Amendment procedure is required. So the point here is that these all aspects are nothing but to regulate a country. And we have divided all the provision in a particular system or structure. And that we are calling the parts of the constitution. Originally, how many parts were there? 22. Originally 22 parts are there. Now also same is there. Some we have repealed like the part 7. Okay. Now this we have to keep in our notes because if we won't keep there, well revision we won't go back or we forget. So let's keep the articles not required here. What is required is the part only keep and this. If you want, you can keep the article also from this to this, but no need to remember that also. But this is important because they are asking direct question here. Part 1, union and territory. Like what is going to be the union and the geographical. This you can note down. This you can note down. Part 1, let's see how it has done. Same. Union and territory. Part 2, citizenship. You need the citizens. Part 3, you need the rights. Part 4, TSPSC. Every right the state cannot fulfill. Suppose you say that every person should be given right to livelihood. Can you give livelihood to everyone? Is it possible? Job giving to everyone? It's difficult, right? In the government service, you cannot give. So some rights they kept under the enforceable rights. Some rights they kept as the non-enforceable right in the form of TSPSC. But both are rights only. Both are rights only. Then part 4A, fundamental duty. 5, union. Part 6, states. Part 7, this is repealed. Part 8, union territories. Part 9, panchayat. 9A, municipalities. 9B, cooperative society, recently added. Just wait and then you write. Part 10, schedule and tribal area, as we discussed. Part 11, relation between the union and state. This is the center-state relation. Part 12, finance, property and contracts and suits. That is between the center and state again. These are the center-state relation. Then trade, commerce, intercourse with the territory of India, like the how trade should take place. Part 14, services like UPSC, state PSC. This was added later. Tribunals. 15, election. 16, special provisions related to certain class, that is the SC, OBC and those all things. Part 17, language like Hindi, regional language, provision related to that. Part 18 is the emergency. This is important. Part 19, miscellaneous if something is not there. Part 20 is amendment, Article 368. That's very important. Part 21, these are not important. You can leave 21 and 22. Now, what are important will come, but first note down this 7. You can just write like repeal. No need to write this. Okay, Amendment Act is there. No? You can write that. Please note down. This is important. They're asking questions on this. Okay. This. What? Now you see this question. So direct only, but still 24. Once we should be aware like what is the exact question. What's the answer? All 3 are correct, right? I mean, they didn't even change. All 3 are correct. 9A, 18 and 20. Those are important. Okay. So now we won't miss any question if we are prepared like this. Okay. I mean, at least we should have the general idea, and it's very important because in the mains also, if any question was asked, you mention the part also. Generally, we mention the article, na? We mention the part also. Suppose the question came on elections, start with the provision related to Election Commission of India is mentioned in part, which part? Part 15, Article 324. If you don't remember article, at least mention the part. That's also correct, right? So the parts you can mention in the constitution, any type of, suppose they ask about the president. President is under the part 8 that is, part 5, that is union. So the provision related to the president is mentioned in the part 5, article 53, like that you can mention. Okay, so not just article, you can mention the part also. Next is the schedules of Indian Constitution, that's micro topic 4. Now the question is, what is schedule mean? What is the meaning, literal meaning of schedule? Literal meaning of schedule is a list, you can say. It's nothing but a kind of listing or scheduling. You say, no, I scheduled your appointment for 5 o'clock. You say, no. So that is schedule. Like though we have scheduled something in a particular place, in a particular list, in a particular order, right? So we say, for example, scheduled tribe. We say, what is meaning of scheduled tribe? Tribes listed in constitution. There is article 342 which lists the tribes which are important, I mean the most vulnerable. So there are 705 tribes, scheduled tribes in India, 705. Does that mean in India only 705 tribes are there? Or more than that can possible? More than that. So let's say there are 1000 tribes. Out of that, only 705 has been listed in the constitution under a particular article. That's why they are only called as a scheduled tribe. That means not all tribes are scheduled tribes. So if this is the total tribe population in India, some has been identified as scheduled tribe, some may not. Similarly, scheduled caste. There are so many castes in India, but only certain caste has been listed as scheduled caste. So this is the listing of those names of those castes are the scheduled caste or scheduled tribe. So schedule is nothing but a listing or kind of the identifying a particular place. Now, so similar in that manner, we need certain list. We needed certain list under this provision. Now, suppose union territory is there. How many union states are there in India? Currently 28, and then there are union territories. Now, within the part you cannot list. So, suppose you are reading part 1, article 1, article 1, which talks about the union and its territories. These are going to be the territories. So, to see that which are these territories, the names of the states are mentioned in schedule 1. So, you mention the list of the state. Similarly, let's say the any schedule 11 is there. We later added. Schedule 11 contains the powers of the panchayat, the responsibilities of panchayat. So list of 29 powers and responsibilities are there. They have listed. So suppose you want to see that what are the power of the state, go to the schedule 11. Right? So that is the purpose of the schedule, and that's why the schedules has been kept. And one point I have not mentioned is that whenever you see this A, B, these are the additions basically. That means through amendment they have brought fundamental duties amendment, municipalities amendment, cooperatives has been through amendment. Here also tribunals through amendment. Right? So that is the thing. So these are the schedule. So there are total 12 schedule. Originally how many? 8 schedules were there. Originally 8 schedule. Later on 9 schedule was added through amendment. Then 10 schedule was added through amendment. 11 schedule was added through amendment, and then finally 12 schedule. They have 11 and 12 schedule. So statement can be made. Originally 8 schedule. Later on 4 more schedule added. First point. Now let's go one by one. That is the first schedule is related to what? First schedule is related to names of the state and union territories with their territorial extent. Not only name, two things are there. Name plus extent to which their power goes. Suppose Andhra Pradesh, how much area? That is listed under schedule 1, that it covers article 1 to 4. That is schedule 1. Then the schedule 2, that is second schedule. Second schedule is related to the what are going to the emoluments and allowances and privileges. Emoluments, allowances means what benefits basically they are going to get. Suppose one person become president, what are the benefits, salaries, allowances, privileges they are going to get? That is in the schedule 2nd. Similarly, in schedule 3rd is what is the form of oath for the office. Form of oath for the office and of certain offices like ministers, prime ministers, like that. Here the confusion happens when they list which among the following has been listed in the second schedule. See here, note down. Look at it carefully here. What mentioned? Privileges of president, governor, speaker, deputy speaker, legislative assembly, both Lok Sabha and legislative assembly, chairman, deputy chairman, judges of Supreme Court, High Court, and CAT also there. Here prime minister, ministers are not there. Okay, but see, let's again. Here this is privilege, this is oath. Here union and state ministers, candidate also. Candidate for the election of parliament and state legislature. Suppose you want to stand in election, You have to take oath before nomination, right? In front of the electoral returning officer. So what oath you will take? That is written in Schedule 3. Okay, candidate for the election of parliament as well as state legislatures, MPs and MLAs. Suppose you got elected. Now you will go to the parliament or the state assembly. You have to take oath there also. That is also listed here. Suppose you became MP. Now you are becoming minister. Then also what oath you have to take here. Then last, judges. If you have become judge also, what oath you will take? CAG also, what oath you will take? That means two things are common here. Right? Other are, you understand here, we list. Number 1, this is about the privilege. This is about the oath in simple terms. Now here, if it is about the privilege for whom? Remember, president, governor. This, let's talk about the center this side, state this side. President, governor. Then who are there? Speaker of center, speaker, that is the Lok Sabha, state legislative assembly, right? Speaker. Then what comes? Chairman as well as the deputy chairman. Here also there will be the chairman and deputy chairman. Isn't it? Legislative assembly, chairman and deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha as well as the councils. Then Supreme Court and High Court judge. Then only CAG. There is nothing CAG like in the state, right? So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things we have to remember here. Okay? President, governor, speaker, chairman and deputy chairman. Here deputy speaker can also be there, right? Deputy speaker can also be there. Deputy speaker can also be there. Okay? And then the Supreme Court, High Court judge, CAG. Similarly, let's bring here, that is center, state. What are the main? First, let's go one by one. First, you become candidate, right? It can be for the MP or MLA candidate. Second, you become MP or MLA. Let's not keep this separately. Yes, this is MP, this is MLA. Then we become minister, that is union minister, state minister. Then fourth, Supreme Court, High Court, and common. Fifth, CAG is the common. Right? So if you make a table like this, it will help you to remember. A lot of confusion happens here, like whether this is there or not in actual exam scenario. So better to not write like this, but structure like this, in which you understand them and differentiate better. Yes, good. Like that, you can create a table. MP, MLA, minister, that is central minister, and then the state minister. Ministers, then judges, Supreme Court, judges, Supreme Court. You write judges, bracket, otherwise you'll forget judges. Then you will understand this. Then CAG, COG, MP, yes, candidates for Lok Sabha, and then candidate for Lok Sabha here, and here candidate for state legislative assembly. Okay, so state, center. Similarly, later you can create for this also, right? So when it is in a table form, you will remember easily. Otherwise, confusion will be there. Okay. That much is enough, na, to write. CAG, High Court, judge. This is judge. This is MP. This is the candidate. Okay. Good. Second schedule, third schedule. Yeah, that much is helpful to write, solve the questions. Next is the fourth schedule. Now see, what we have done till now is that we divided the names. We have given the privilege. Second is privilege. Third is oath. Remember this, the confusion there also happens. Like whether first is vote, privilege, confusion happens. When you see, now you will remember, after 1 week, 2 weeks, now there will be confusion, right? So be more extra careful. That's my point here. Because here confusion will come. Here you won't get confusion. That's very clear. Now if you don't revise also, you will remember this. But if you won't revise here, definitely confusion will come. Right? So be more careful here. Then the fourth schedule. Now see, as we know in the Rajya Sabha, the membership in the Rajya Sabha is through indirect election. And there also, it is not like the US. In the US, what happens? Every state have the 2 member for the Senate. So there are 50 states in the US. So total membership in the Senate is 100. Each state 2. But that's not the case in India. In some state, it is based on the population. So if you have more population, you can send more people to the Rajya Sabha, more MPs to the Rajya Sabha. So now the question is, which state will get how many seats in the Rajya Sabha? That listing has been done in the fourth schedule. That is, allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the state and UTs. Right, this is a very simple one. There is no, you can directly remember it. Allocation of seats to in Rajya Sabha to the states and UTs. Now, what do you think? Which state had the highest number of seats? UP, because population is more. Then comes the fifth schedule. See, here we have to remember one thing. See, if you see the country, in our country, we have created this local body system, right? We have this union system, then we have the state, we have this local bodies. Now, in local bodies, there are panchayats and there are municipalities. That is not important here. Let's say panchayat. Now, these panchayats work in which level? Village level, right? Village level. So they have this power to manage, regulate, and ensure the development of the rural area and the village area. So what the constitution and the lawmaker have done is that they have created certain kind of guidelines and the law for the panchayats to work in the framework. But the thing is that there are certain areas in the country which are different than the other rural areas because of the presence of tribals. So there are villages which are dominated by the tribals. There are villages which are non-tribals or less population of tribal is there. Now you cannot have the common framework or the law for the panchayat for the tribals as well as for the non-tribals. It is because tribal have their unique way of regulation and governance. So Indian constitution, which believes in on the inclusivity and equity, recognize that tribals have the different way of living, governance and their management. So let's not enforce our law uniformly on these tribal areas. That means to prevent the uniform application of the law which is made for the whole country also in the scheduled areas are going to disrupt the culture, the tradition and the way of living of the tribals. Now the question is, if that is so, how we are going to differentiate them? Because we make in the parliament law for all country. How we are going to differentiate them? So what the constitution makers did is that they identified those pockets, those areas which have sizable population of the tribals. So let's identify them and list them in schedules. So that if tomorrow we are making the law, there we will put an exemption that this law won't be applicable to scheduled areas. It will be easy. So the lawmaker who will implement the law will not implement that. For example, there is a law of UCC recently brought, right? In which state? UCC, not implemented, implemented. Recently, Uttarakhand became the state. Uttarakhand. But they made a provision there that this UCC will not be implemented in scheduled areas. Similarly, the law came. Have you heard about this CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act, which gave the rights to the non-Muslims from the other countries to get the citizenship early. There also they make exemption. It won't be applicable to scheduled tribal areas. That is the utility of keeping certain areas as scheduled. Right? Now the question here, so you understood the law made by the union or the state or the local bodies should not be applicable to the tribal area. That's why we created the schedule area. That schedule area, what are those areas which has been identified in the schedule, has been listed in the schedule 5 and 6. Now the question is, we understood that to give the rights to the schedules, we have created the schedule areas. These schedule areas itself have the diversity. What we are saying is that, okay, common villages are there. Within them, tribals are there, non-tribals are there. We should differentiate. But within tribals also there are diversity. If you see the tribals in the central India, North India, Northeast India, they have the marked difference in the socio-political and the cultural features, right? So here we cannot have the common tribal schedule areas also. So they divided the one is that the schedule, let's say the tribal areas of Northeast region, then other tribal areas. You're getting? So they said that Northeastern region, some tribal groups are having difference among the tribals also. So they created here a few states, 4 states. Assam. Which are the state? Assam. Let me show you in the map here, if you will draw. This is very important to know. So here you have Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, then Tripura, Meghalaya, and this Assam. So here the states are your Assam, in some region of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. These 4 states, remember these areas, 4 states are considered under a particular tribal group, and rest of the tribal states, including Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, these all states has been created as other tribal groups. So the list of the states and the region which will be included as these tribal groups has been considered under the 6th schedule. However, the rest of the tribal groups has been kept under the 5th schedule. That's why you see this difference here. 5th schedule, administration and control of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Next slide. Administration of tribal areas in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. It's nothing but to differentiate the tribals from the rest of non-tribals, and then to differentiate the within tribal, some tribals from these state and some tribal from other state. Clear the concept? That this topic will cover more detail in the schedule area topic is there. But just to give the context, I have explained this. Try to write the 5th schedule you wrote. First write 5th schedule and then 6th schedule. 5th schedule. Yes. Administration of control of scheduled areas and tribes. Scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Okay. Next was the administration of tribal areas in Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram. Please remember this map. I'm saying now this names You should remember these 4 states. Very important, because there they can change with Manipur, Nagaland or something. Should not get confused there. Generally we remember as the, I think Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya and Assam. Something MMTA or something, you can remember some way, mnemonics, but important to remember that. MMTA or something. AMTM. Huh? ATM, yeah, that's it. ATM. ATM. ATMM. Something. Remember that, that's very important. Next is the 7th schedule. 7th schedule, we know then, the division of power between the union and state. It's nothing but the center state, union list. Then you have the state list. Then you have the concurrent list. Explain, that is the division of power. 7th schedule we see. Okay. Next, 8th schedule. 8th schedule is about the languages. There are 22 languages. Please remember this. 22 languages. Originally 14. Currently, there are 22 languages recognized by the Constitution. In news, the classical languages in the news, because recently 6 new classical languages has been added. That is in the news, but that is more of current affairs. And this is not highly in the news. 22 languages are there. Then the 9th schedule. Acts and regulations, yes. For this, the 9th schedule is very important because they're asking a lot of questions on the 9th schedule. This will cover, I think I have another page here. Yeah, no, I don't have that page. Okay. Ninth schedule. See, till 8th schedule, it was the originally. Why there was a need of 9th schedule was, see, what was happening is that after this constitution was made, we started bringing this socialistic form of government. If you see, if you have read the history, you know that the Pandit Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, these people were more inclined towards the socialistic form of government, giving more rights to the labor, farmers, them, right? So, this socialistic ideology led to that. The major thing was redistribution of land. That is, redistribute the land, because some people have the high amount of land and some are not even having any land. Golaknath is one of the names. You must have heard the Golaknath case, na? That it was related to this land only. He was having like the 1,000 acres of land. Then what he did is that he distributed among his family member and the servants and everyone to avoid this law. So he claimed something. So that's why that case came. So redistribution of land is there. Now when you are doing the redistribution of land, it is violating the right to property, which was earlier a fundamental right. So suppose I have 1,000 acre of land, you are the government, you have to first acquire my land, right? You will take away my land, let's say the 900 acre you took, and then you will redistribute. If you take over my 900 acre, my right to property is violated. Then what I will do? Court, I'll go to the Supreme Court, High Court, I'll claim that my fundamental right is violated. Then what the court will do? Yes, it is violated, and they will restore my rights. Okay, so that was the thing happening. Okay, so what they did is that now this is not allowing the government to adopt this socialistic policy. The problem is coming. That is why there was a requirement that the question is, it was going to the court. Now the question is how to prevent such laws from court. That was the question they were having. The smart answer they got is that put a schedule. Okay, what we will do is that suppose any law is redistributing or something which we don't want the court to look at it, we will put in a schedule and we will write there that any schedule, any law which is there in this schedule cannot be seen or reviewed by the court. Just before this now, we have taken the judicial review from which country? USA. Excellent. So we have taken from the USA. That means any law can be reviewed by the judiciary. So we are making the law, it is reviewing by seeing the fundamental right and saying that it's not violable. So what we said is that we'll create a schedule and we'll put in that schedule and we'll say that if any law is in this schedule, judiciary cannot review it. And that for that purpose only 9th schedule was added. What he has written, acts and regulation of the state legislatures dealing with land reform and abolition of Jamandari system and of the parliament dealing with other matters. That is, the acts cannot be reviewed. That was the 9th schedule. Okay, so this sentence is the complex one. Don't write this much. Let me give you the simple sentence. Protection schedule for the protection of laws, regulation from judicial review. That much only is enough to eliminate the question. Here we see, here we are not taking notes to write something. Here we have to just choose this answer. So understanding is more important than the exact sentence. That is more important than the mains. But here we'll focus on the prelims only. Okay. And interestingly, this was the first amendment they made. First time. Because immediately after this constitution came into force, which date? 26 January 1950. After that, they started making this Jamindari, the redistribution and these all things, and this problem started coming. So the first, this was done through first Constitutional Amendment Act, 1951. The first amendment itself for the 9th schedule. Very interesting. Like and now which government was there? Pandit Nehru was the Prime Minister that time. Okay. Now 10th schedule. 10th schedule was came later. What was happening here? It is because of this Ayaram Gayaram. Have you heard about this sentence? Ayaram Gayaram wala thing. That is the meaning is that simple is that suppose you are from this party A. Okay. There are other parties, party B, party C. These are the political party. Party C is also there. Now what is happening is that suppose you are the member of A, but election won by B. Okay, election won by B. What you are doing is that you are shifting your party to other party. Okay, that's the one thing. You chose this. Then what was happening is that in next election or this government fell, and then C made the government. You're shifting to there. There was no regulation. This is political immorality, na? Unethical politics it is. And it diminishes the trust of the people, because people in our country do not just vote the person, they vote the party. So you got elected with the party or name or the party ideology of A, but then you are shifting to B, then you are shifting to C. There was one MLA in Bihar. His name was Ram or something. So Aya Ram means he came. Gaya Ram, he went. Gaya means what? Went. Aya means came, right? So the Ram Aya, Ram Gaya. So this went very high, the defection. This is called as the defection. You are defecting your party. So there was high need of a law to regulate such kind of immoral practices in the politics. And then this idea came, and then they came up with this 10th schedule, where they kept this anti-defection law. Defection means changing the party immorally. So anti-defection, to regulate it. So that is the 10th schedule, provision related to disqualification of the members of parliament and state legislation on the ground of defection. So in simple term, you can name as defection, anti-defection law, 10th schedule. It was brought through 52nd Amendment Act 1985. 52nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1985. This fact remember, 52nd. Then again it was amended in 91st Constitutional Amendment Act 2003. Yes, to 2003. 52nd and 91st. These amendment acts brought this 10th schedule. It's applicable. This is a specific chapter we have to cover that. Then 11th and 12th schedule are nothing but the responsibilities of the panchayat and municipalities. 11th for panchayat, 12th municipalities. 11th was added through which amendment? 11th was added through 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992, and 12th was 74th Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. So these were the amendments. Let's see the schedule questions. So first, (2015) question. Answer is, what is the option? A. This is a simple question, right? Direct. Like I don't determine the boundaries between. See the sentence. See, when you read the previous year question, read that to make a answer wrong, what options UPSC is forming. What they are forming? Determine the boundaries between states. Determine the powers, authority, responsibilities of panchayats. Protect the interests of all the border states. Okay, so option A is correct. Next, consider the following statement. The Parliament of India, read it. What is the answer? 2 is right or wrong? Statement 2? Wrong statement. Because of the Kesavananda Bharati case. No. Yes, the first is correct. The Parliament of India can place a particular law in the 9th schedule of Constitution. Correct, absolutely correct. No doubt. Second statement, the validity of law placed in 9th schedule cannot be examined by any court and no judgment can be made on it. If you see the literal sense of the 9th schedule, the objective was that only. We were creating so that we protect it from any kind of judgment and those things, right? So it's correct. But later on, in 1973, the judgment came of the Kesavananda Bharati case. It said that you cannot immune the law completely from the judicial review. It's against the basic feature of the Constitution. Now, this becomes a disputed question because of, if in the literal sense it's correct. However, when you interpret this statement in the wake of the judgment given by the Supreme Court, it becomes wrong. So this kind of absolute power is not there. It's not like you cannot even examine or no judgment can be made on it. It's absolutely, the extreme. Maybe the judgment can be made. It has not said that it will repeal or not. The statement is not making the statement that if you place in 9th sentence, it cannot even examine. It's not saying that it cannot repeal. If it is saying that it cannot abolish certain act which is placed in 9th schedule, then we could have thought about some other aspect. But it is just saying the examine and no judgment. There can be positive judgment also. It is not said like the removal only or the abolition only. So that's why this is absolute statement. If you analyze carefully, though the 9th schedule is intended to prevent the abolition of law from the judiciary, but it has not said that it cannot examine also. It cannot, give any judgment also. And it is also against the Keswananda Bharti case. So as per my opinion, I think this should be wrong. Absolute statement. So A should be the correct answer. Next is the 9th schedule was introduced in the Constitution of India during the Prime Minister's reform. 2019 question. That to direct straight question, but yeah, okay. Next, under the which schedule of the Indian Constitution can transfer the tribal land to the private parties for the mining? The declare null and void. Very good question. See. C. 5th schedule. Option B. Yes, option B is the correct answer. That is the 5th schedule. C. Under the which schedule of Constitution of India can the transfer of tribal land to the private parties for the mining be declared null and void? As we know, see, generally the private parties, the land. Suppose I am non-tribal, my land can be transferred. Okay, but it can be considered, if I'm a tribal, it can be considered as a null and void because my rights, land right is highly protected. You know the Jal, Jungle, Zameen. Zameen, that is land. These are highly associated or spiritually associated with the tribals. For them, it is more associated. Now, think about the 3rd schedule. 3rd schedule is related to? Oath. Right? Related to oath. So, not at all related to the tribal land. So A can be eliminated. Go to the C, 9th schedule. Might be little confusing. Okay, let's skip it for now. 12th schedule. It is related to municipalities, not related to the tribal land. So 4 also you can eliminate. So now 5th and 6th. Since the 5th schedule talks about the tribal land, so tribal welfare, the 5th would be right. Okay, rest is the incorrect. So this was the next topic, that is the fourth micro topics we have covered, and we saw the previous year questions. The next is the micro topic 5, amendment. Now what we have understood, see, from the beginning of the class, let's try to link the dots like the story. The first is that we understood, okay, there is a need of constitution. Otherwise, what happens is powerful people will be arbitrary. They will make any law. So it will violate the rights of the people. So need of constitution is there. Now that constitution, when it is based on this constitution, any government is formed, that's called as the constitutional government. Now when this constitutional government is there, India have adopted this constitutional form of government. Now how India made this constitution? For that we understood 2 aspects. 1, Constituent Assembly it formed. 2, it learned from its historical acts. 3, it learned from the other constitution present at that point of time. Then we covered every aspect of the Constituent Assembly. How it was formed, what was its composition, what was its symbol, what were the committees, what were the who were the chairpersons of those committees. That part we covered. Then we went to see that from where we borrowed the provision. So we saw US, UK, different countries, right? So we made the constitution. That is the making of the constitution by Constituent Assembly and the borrowing. We made it. After making, we need to know what are the provisions. That means what are the parts. So before going into each part, which is the part of our syllabus, you see the Lakshmikant and others, we need to know what all those 22 parts. So that we saw. But along with the part, there is a separate lists also. That it is called as schedules. So there are 12 schedules. So till this, we have covered the 4 micro topics, and we have seen the previous year question. Questions are being asked there. So if we are aware about them, the factual questions are there, we can solve them. Now when we understood this is the constitution of 20 part, many times we saw that has been amended. Additions are happening, deletions are happening. We saw here part was deleted, repealed also. That means by amended we can repeal. By amendment we can add, like part A, B, this 9A, 9B, we can add. By amendment we can change the names also, isn't it? If we can repeal something, we can change also. We can change certain provisions within that. We can add, we can delete, we can change the provisions. So those things we are observing here. So now the question, the very important question comes is that how we do that? What is the power? How we learned to amend? From where we learned that? What is the procedure? What are the changes in the amendment itself has happened? Like the process of amendment itself has been amended multiple times, how it has been done. Those aspects are going to be, we are going to cover under this micro topic 5, that is the amendment of Indian Constitution. Now first of all, amendment means, the amendment means this. This is nothing but, in the simple sentence, it is the modification in Constitution. The process of modification of Constitution. Now, why the modification is required? Why? Why it is required? Because the Indian Constitution is considered as not a dead document. Who said this? Dr. Ambedkar. So if something is living document, that means it should be flexible with the time. That's why it is important. So what it is, it's nothing but the modification in simple words in the Constitution. Why it is required? Because we wanted it to be living document. It has to be the flexible, that is the flexible with time. Now the question is how it is done? Through constitutional amendment bill, right? We have to pass this Constitutional Amendment Act. We have to pass. For that, we have to go with this Constitutional Amendment Bill is required. Now, from where we borrowed or learned? That is the next question. From where we learned this amendment to the Constitution? Yes, very good. South Africa. South Africa. Next question is, can article, what is the article here? You can write the amendment article is article 368. Only one article is there, no? Article 368. Can article 368 be amended? Can we amend article 368 itself? Because it gives the power to amend the article. Can article 368 itself can be amended or not? Yes, it can be amended. Yes, it has been done twice. One is the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act 1971. Second, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. The twice amended. So sentence can be formed. Can it be amended or not? So twice it has already been amended. Okay. Now it becomes important to see the exact provision. Article 368 exactly states this. Parliament, see the word first, Parliament, not the state. Parliament may, in exercise of its constituent power. Constituent power means the power to make the constitution. For that, earlier we had the Constituent Assembly. Now that is not there. Now the role of Constituent Assembly has been transferred to who has this constitution making power now? Parliament. So the keywords, see, Parliament, that means not the state. State doesn't have any role in the amendment. Parliament may accept some ratification in the federal issue, may in exercise of its constituent power amend by the way of addition, variation or repeal any provision of this constitution. Particularly remember these three keywords. They frame the statement directly like this. Okay, what three words they have used? Addition, variation and repeal. Write down this statement, very important. Direct statement can be created by the UPSC on this. Okay, so this is three things it can do, that is the addition, variation, repeal. The second thing is that this gives two things. One is that power to amend any provision of Constitution of India. Any provision, see this, any provision, yes, it can amend any provision. It gives the power. Okay. However, here we have to bring this, that except the basic feature. This you know that feature, basic feature of Constitution, that is Keswananda Bharti case, 1973. As per this, except the basic feature, it can amend any provision. Okay. You know, it can amend any provision, any article it can amend. Within that, suppose they are amending Article 14. Now, Article 14 contains several subsections also. So, if the statement UPSC is making that can it amend any provision of Constitution of India? Yes, it can. They can amend the Article 14, but within that, some provisions can be amendable, some cannot be. Maybe that complete Article 14 is not under the basic feature. Some aspect of Article 14 is part of the basic feature. Then yes, the Parliament can amend Article 14, but they cannot amend every aspect of Article 14. They can amend only those aspects of it which is not the part of the basic feature. Now it's impossible for me to tell you like what exactly is the basic feature, because nobody knows that except the judiciary, except few judgment, because that has not been codified. What exactly constitutes the basic feature? So that will be done through case-to-case basis. So this is the power to amend any provision of India, the Constitution, except that. The second thing is that it also gives the procedure of amendment. It also gives the procedure of amendment, like how the amendment will happen. The simple majority, whether it will require the special majority, or whether it will require the state, whether it will require the president prior notification, or whether it will require what kind of assent, and those all things. The procedure is also there here. Not only the power, but also the procedure is there. Now the next here, this is important, Article 368(3). See, for this you have to understand a background. Here they have mentioned Article 13. So let's first understand what exactly Article 13 is. See, Article 13 is, have you, let's go back to the parts. Here you will see like the parts of the Constitution. See here. Part 12, Article 12 to 35 is what? Fundamental right. Okay. That means Article 13 comes under chapter of fundamental right. Chapter of fundamental right. So it is related to something called fundamental right. Now what it is, see, if you see the Article 12 starts from Article 12, it talks about the state. What is the meaning of state? What the definition? Some certain definitions are there. Then there is Article 13. This says that simple manner, any law it says, violative of any provision of this part, that is that is fundamental rights. Any law violative of any provision of this part, that is fundamental right, would be null and void. Any law or its provision which is violative of any part, any provision of this part, that is fundamental right, will be null and void. This is written in Article 13. Now the question is this, when it is saying that any law, so now law has the different meaning, right? One is the ordinary law. What is ordinary law? Suppose there is a law, for example, UAPA is a law, right? Have you heard? Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, it's a law. PESA Act is a law. There is APPSC is a law, right? So these are the ordinary law which has been passed through simple majority. They can make the law. The criminal laws are there, no? That BNS, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, that is also law passed in the constitution, like the BNS. There is constitutional amendment law also, which has been, see how these ordinary laws are made, by passing the legislation in the parliament or the state assembly. Now there is another law that has been passed by the parliament only, but to amend the constitution. So now the question is, will this Constitutional Amendment Act, which is also a law, will be a law under the definition of Article 13 or not? Did you get my point? Will this Constitutional Amendment Bill, see, Article 13 is a part of the Constitution. Article 368 is giving power to the Parliament to amend the Constitution itself. But Article 13 is saying that the law cannot be made to violate the fundamental right. So can the Parliament, if the Parliament make the amendment, will it be called as a law under the definition of this or not? That was the question went to the judiciary. So many judgment came on this. Multiple judgments. Some judgments said that it cannot be. Some said it can be. Finally, in the Kesavananda Bharati case, it was established that the constitutional amendment laws, see what it is saying, nothing in the Article 13 shall apply to any amendment made under this article. That means Constitutional Amendment Act are not law under Article 13. That is written, they wrote under this 24th Constitutional Amendment Act. Okay, so that was the, I'm bringing this exactly what is the provision made in the Constitution under this amendment. Now this dispute whether this is a law or not went to the Supreme Court, and then they finally decided that Article 13 is valid. But the thing is, they made the provision very clearly that the basic structure cannot be violated. Okay, that is the provision they made. Now the question is that what majorities are required in the constitutional amendments. So the procedure, basically procedures. We will come to the procedure later. First, let's talk about the amendment majority required. Constitution amendment. Generally, see, there are two things are required. One is that simple majority. We know this, simple majority or special majority. Okay, this special majority can be two types. The simple special majority plus state ratification. This way you can classify. Now the simple majority, yes, it can be done. Simple majority means majority of members present and voting. Right? That means if let's say the 300 are present, majority of it means that 151 is required. Right? That means more than 50% is required. That will be the majority. What type of laws or the provisions can be amended through the simple majority? Certain law, for example, changing number of Supreme Court judges. If you want to change it, you can change with the simple majority. Okay, there is no requirement of the special majority. So the point here is that some provisions of the constitution can be amended through the simple majority. At the same time, there are certain provisions which requires the special majority, which are more powerful provisions, which are more significant provisions. For example, fundamental right, DPSP, fundamental duties can be amended through the special majority. Special majority means that is more than 50%, that is a majority of the total membership. Suppose 543 currently, earlier in the Lok Sabha, 543 is the membership, right? Earlier 545 was there, 2 Anglo-Indian removed now. 543 is the total membership is there. Whether it is filled or not doesn't matter. So more than 50% is required. Plus, what is need is that 2/3 of majority of 2/3 of members present and voting. Members present and voting. This is the special majority. Example here: Fundamental Rights Amendment, DPSP Amendment. And then here, that is special majority. That is, you need the special majority plus 50% of state ratification with simple majority. So state has to have this simple majority. They don't need the special majority to pass it. Simple majority like this plus 50% of the state ratification is required. These are the three important processes of the Constitutional Amendment Act to pass. Okay, just a simple small keywords keep in your notes. That's it. Here it is required for the federal provision. For example, what is Schedule 7? What is Schedule 7? Division of powers between the center and state, right? Suppose the Constitution Parliament wants to amend that. Will it impact the states? Yes. So it should be that the states should also be considered in such cases. So Schedule 7, that is a division of power, is an example. Similarly, if you take the election of the president, suppose currently election of the president involves state or not? It involves, right? Suppose the parliament is changing the process of election of president and saying that only the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha together will elect the president. Will it impact state? Should it come into this or this? State ratification should require, right? So point here is that we should understand like the where they are coming. I mean, is it impacting the state or not? Take the example as if they change the Panchayati Raj system, will it impact state? If say the article 243 is related to the Panchayat, if they change it, will it impact the state? No. State's power won't be impacted. Local bodies come under which list? Huh? What do you think? In which list it should come? State list. Local bodies are in the state list. They come under the state control. Now, if the parliament will make the law, change the law, but they won't take the ratification of the states, then it will be null and void. Take example of the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act. It is related to cooperatives. Cooperatives is which subject? State subject, right? Now what the parliament did is that they amended this 97th Amendment Act. They made this provision, which part? Part 9B. They added it, right? And it was impacting the state, yes or no? Yes, because the cooperative is a state subject. But parliament didn't take the ratification of the states. And that's why the Supreme Court made the 97th Amendment Act null and void of those provisions which were impacting the state. They kept those provisions which were not impacting the states, because there are some cooperatives which are not state cooperatives. Those are the multi-country, multi-state cooperatives. So only the current cooperative system which is there in the parliament constitution impacts the multi-state cooperative, not the state cooperatives. The point here is that we have to, this particular thing applies to those provisions which impact the states, like the local bodies, federalism provision, resident related provision, Supreme Court related some significant provision, right? So that is the different procedure, different types of majority which is required in the constitutional amendment. These are the different provisions of the majority. I'll share this to you instead, because it will take time to write. I'll share this. Anyhow, PPT also I'll share it. But here what is important is the procedure and certain limitations. See, note down this procedure. This is very important. Any kind of bill, any kind of law if you have to make, first thing is requires is the introduction of bill. First thing is the introduction of bill. Now the question is, for some bill you must have heard, to introduce a bill, there is a requirement of president assent. That means you need the prior permission of president. For example, suppose you want to change the name of a state, or you want to bifurcate a state, you need the prior permission of president. For the budget, if you want to present the law related to budget, you need the prior permission, like the money bill. Right? So here, the question is there requirement to take the prior permission of the president? The answer is yes or no? No. So this becomes important fact. No requirement of prior assent or permission of president before introduction of bill. No need. Okay. Now the second question is, can it be introduced in state legislatures? It cannot. But in the US, they can. They can propose the bill of the amendment in the US. But in India, cannot be introduced in state legislative assemblies. Okay. Third, can it be introduced in both houses or only in the Lok Sabha? Both. Introduction can be in both Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Okay, any other fact which I'm missing? Prior permission is not required. Yes. Yes. Now the thing is, who can introduce? Should the Constituent Assembly bill be only private bill, or it can be the public member bill? Oh, sorry, private member bill, or it can be the public bill? Both. That means the MPs, any MP can introduce it. That means it can be a minister, or it can be the non-minister also. Right? See, it's a small fact, but we don't want any confusion while solving them. So let's bring all the possibilities of question they can ask. Next thing they can ask, like this is any minister, minister. Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, they can confuse minister, non-minister, like this. They can confuse. That much is okay. So this is about the introduction. Now first you introduce, let's say you have done the introduction, then it has to go for the passing the bill. Now you have to pass the bill, right? So for that, what majority required? Majority required. See, one point I missed to tell here is that the Article 368 covers only these two aspects. Remember, Article 368 covers only these two. The simple majority provision, the amendment using the simple majority is not there in Article 368. So this is Article 368, not in article, not through Article 368. This is an important point. Okay, that is through Article 368. Now here majority required, as we know, it can be through special majority, because we are talking about the procedure of amendment using Article 368. Okay, Article 368, majority required is the special majority. So is it like the special majority required in only one house where it has been introduced, or in both houses? Are you sure? Yes. So special majority in both house separately. It should be separately they pass, right? Okay, let's say there is the deadlock. Can there be joint sitting? Can there be joint sitting in case of some constitutional amendment bill? Suppose the Lok Sabha passed it, Rajya Sabha did not pass it, rejected it. So what will happen then? In the ordinary bill, there will be joint sitting. Suppose one is not reacting or rejected it, there can be joint sitting. But in case of Constitutional Amendment Act, no provision of joint sitting. Otherwise, what will happen is that all amendment which is desired by the Lok Sabha will pass, because they have the majority. They are almost double than the Rajya Sabha, right? So and then it will make the constitutional amendment very flexible. We wanted our constitutional amendment to be mix of flexibility and the rigidity. It is rigid. It is not rigid like US. It's not flexible like UK. It's intermix. So suppose you give the joint sitting here, it will become flexible. And that's why the no provision of joint sitting joint sitting in case of the deadlock. Okay. Then what happens? You introduce, you pass the bill. Then what will happen? Third is assent of president. Okay. Assent of president. And now the bill will go to the president. Can president withheld the amendment bill? Withheld means reject it or return it or say that I decline the assent. Can they say that? But only in case of ordinary bill. See, that provision was there in the original constitution. They can return and those all things. But in 24th Constitutional Amendment Act, they made this provision that the president has to give assent to the constitutional amendment bills. They cannot return, they cannot reject. So these are extreme facts. Commonly it should be allowed like in ordinary, but in case of there is no, when we say that no provision of joint sitting, extreme facts. So we should be extra careful for the extreme fact, right? We should not think like this is the talking about extreme. So generally extreme things are wrong in the UPSC. No, here we have to be careful. So president must give assent to constitutional amendment bills which came to her. She cannot reject or return for reconsideration. And how this provision came? Through 24th Constitutional Amendment Act 1971 made this provision. Okay. So these are the different procedures. This is the procedure of amending a constitution bill, amending the constitution. Important point, have to revise multiple times so that you don't make any mistake in this amendment. In tomorrow's class, we'll solve questions on this and then we'll go to the, we'll discuss some major amendments because that has also been the question, like the recent amendment, especially we'll see this scenario and then another amendments has been made. So that we will cover, and along with that, and then after that we'll go to the next we'll solve some of the questions on the amendment. See this question, 2013 question. Option 2 only. 2 is how 2 is correct? It's saying the all the state, no, 50% only. 50% only. So both are wrong. Okay, both are wrong. D is the correct. One fact I think we should note it here is that no timeline or limit prescribed in Constitution for states to ratify a constitutional bill sent to them. If they make the statement like the state has to give their assent within or response within 3 months, within 6 months, no, the timeline has not been given in the Constitution. Okay, this is also one fact in this. Okay, so thank you for today's class. We'll meet tomorrow.